The Sinaloa Cartel, long a symbol of narco power under the infamous Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, now finds itself in a period of deep and violent change. Since El Chapo's capture and extradition, the criminal empire he built hasn't collapsed, but has fractured into warring factions, each vying for control of the lucrative drug trafficking routes into the United States. Today, as of this recording, the power landscape is more complex and dangerous than ever. The old guard is disappearing, either captured or in hiding, and a new, more ruthless generation is rising to claim the throne. This transition isn't happening through quiet handovers, but through bullets, kidnappings, and betrayals that stretch across all of Mexico. The cartel originated in the state of Sinaloa, a region with a long history of smuggling and agriculture, which provided the perfect cover for growing marijuana and poppies. Men like El Chapo and his partner Ismael El Mayo Zambada transformed a loose federation of smugglers into a global criminal enterprise. They pioneered cocaine trafficking from Colombia and then diversified into synthetic drugs like methamphetamine and fentanyl. Their business model relied on a combination of extreme violence, sophisticated logistics, and deep-rooted corruption, allowing them to operate with near-total impunity for decades, becoming one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. With El Chapo now serving a life sentence in a U.S. maximum security prison, the power vacuum he left behind has become a battlefield. His sons, known as Los Chapitos, have asserted their claim to their father's legacy, but their leadership is far from universally accepted. They face challenges from old-school traffickers loyal to the elusive El Mayo Zambada, as well as from rival organizations eager to seize a piece of Sinaloa territory. The internal struggle for dominance has turned the streets of Culiacan and other cartel strongholds into war zones, where loyalty is fleeting and life is cheap. The era of a single undisputed kingpin is over. This new chapter is defined by a different kind of violence and a different kind of product. While El Chapo was a master of cocaine and marijuana logistics, the new leaders are specialists in the fentanyl trade, a product far more profitable and deadly. This shift has not only changed the cartel's business model, but has also drawn unprecedented attention from U.S. law enforcement agencies. The U.S. government, grappling with an overdose crisis, has ramped up efforts to dismantle the cartel's leadership, leading to a series of high-profile arrests and indictments that are further destabilizing the organization and fueling the cycle of violence. Leading the current fight for power are El Chapo's sons, the Chapitos. This group is led by Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar, and, until recently, his brothers Ovidio Guzman Lopez and Joaquin Guzman Lopez. Known for their fancy lifestyles and extreme cruelty, they are a new kind of drug trafficker who got their power from their family, not by working their way up like in the old days. They are known for using torture, supposedly feeding their enemies to tigers, and for being the first to make and sell a lot of fentanyl. Their aggressive ways have caused direct fights not just with other gangs but also with the older members of their own cartel. Facing them, at least in terms of influence, is the legendary Ismael El Mayo Zambada, who helped start the Sinaloa cartel and was El Chapo's longtime partner. For many years, El Mayo was like a ghost in the organization, a mythical figure who had never spent a day in jail. His deep connections within the government and society made him untouchable. However, his surprising arrival in the United States in July of 2024, claiming he had been kidnapped, marked a shocking end to his rule. With his son, Ismael Maito Flaco Zambada, also facing charges, the Zambada family's hold on power has become very weak, leaving their loyal followers scattered and in danger. A third major group in this messy situation is the Beltran Leyva organization. Once a strong part of the Sinaloa cartel, the BLO broke away years ago, leading to a bloody war with El Chapo. Today, led by the father-son team Pedro Inzunza Noriega, known as Sagittario, and Pedro Inzunza Coronel, called Pichon, the BLO has come back as a big player, specializing in making fentanyl. Their network is thought to be one of the biggest and most violent, working with a level of skill that has drawn a lot of attention from U.S. authorities who now see them as a major threat to national security. These three groups, the aggressive Chapitos, the remains of El Mayo's old guard, and the re-emerging BLO, form a dangerous power struggle. Their clashing interests ensure that the state of Sinaloa remains a constant battlefield. Unlike the somewhat stable period under El Chapo's single leadership, the current setup is spread out and prone to conflict. Alliances are short-lived, betrayals are common, and the fight for control of smuggling routes, drug labs, and government contacts fuels a never-ending cycle of bloodshed that shows no sign of slowing down, making the region more dangerous than ever. In recent years, authorities in the United States and Mexico have launched an unprecedented legal assault against the leadership of the Sinaloa Cartel. The capture of Ovidio Guzman Lopez in January of 2024 was a major blow to Los Chapitos. His later extradition to the United States and his alleged cooperation with authorities sent shockwaves through the cartel's command structure. Soon after, in July of 2024, his brother Joaquin Guzman Lopez was also arrested after arriving in the United States, further weakening the family's operational capabilities. These arrests showed a renewed commitment from law enforcement to break down the cartel from the top, targeting the very people who thought they were untouchable. The legal pressure hasn't just been on the Guzman family. In a big move, the Trump administration called the Sinaloa Cartel and other groups foreign terrorist organizations in February of 2025. This label opened the door for more aggressive legal tools, leading to the first narco-terrorism charges being announced in May of 2025. This new legal framework was immediately used against the leaders of the Beltran Leyva organization, including Pedro Inzunza Noriega and his son, charging them not only with drug trafficking, but also with supporting terrorism, a much more serious crime with big consequences for those found guilty. The wave of formal charges has brought down many other high-ranking figures. In April of 2025, Emmanuel Martimiano Leon Soto, a key operator for the Sinaloa cartel known as Manny, was arrested in Arizona, marking the final capture in a huge investigation based in North Carolina. His arrest showed how far the cartel's reach was across the United States. Other important leaders like Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, known as Chapo Isidro, and Jose Gil Caro Quintero, called El Chino, also have charges waiting for them in many U.S. districts, making sure that a steady stream of cartel lieutenants will face American justice in the coming years. These legal actions are part of a bigger plan to take down the cartel's leadership and mess up their operations. By targeting the leaders of each group, the Chapitos, the Zambatas, and the PLO, U.S. authorities hope to cause chaos and stop the organization's ability to move large amounts of fentanyl across the border. The charges often describe not just drug crimes but also money laundering and extreme acts of violence, showing a full picture of the cartel's criminal business. Every arrest and formal charge breaks down the idea that they can't be touched, sending a clear message that no one is beyond the reach of the law. Taking down the leaders of the Sinaloa cartel hasn't brought peace. Instead, it's caused a lot of violence as different groups inside the cartel fight to take over. The arrests of Joaquin Guzman Lopez and the reported kidnapping of Ismael El Mayo Zambada in 2024 led to a lot of bloodshed. In Sinaloa alone, this internal fighting has caused over 1,200 deaths and 1,400 disappearances. With no clear leader to keep things in order, the different bosses and their hitmen are fighting block by block for control of land, drug labs, and smuggling routes. This internal war has completely changed how the cartel works. The old, somewhat predictable structure with a clear chain of command has been replaced by a messy and spread-out network of smaller, competing groups. These groups are often more violent and harder to predict than the ones before them, because they don't have the high-level political protection that leaders like El Chapo once had. To stay alive, they use brute force, threats, and kidnapping, scaring local people and making everyday life unbearable in their areas. This breaking up of the cartel makes it harder to fight and more dangerous for regular people caught in the middle. For the United States and Mexico, this new situation is a tough challenge. Even though arresting big bosses makes good headlines, it often makes the violence on the ground worse. Calling cartels terrorist groups and using terrorism charges shows a tougher stance from the U.S., but it's not clear if this will work where past plans have failed. The focus on fentanyl has raised the stakes, as the flow of the deadly drug continues despite high-profile arrests. Public safety on both sides of the border remains risky, as the demand for drugs fuels the cartel's profits and its ability to be violent. Looking ahead, the future of the Sinaloa cartel is uncertain, but it will likely remain violent. The time of the larger-than-life drug lord might be over, replaced by a time of faceless, interchangeable leaders and broken-up mini-cartels. This change means the organization might become tougher, able to handle losing key people without completely falling apart. For the people of Mexico, this means the conflict is far from over. Arresting important leaders might satisfy the need for justice, but it also guarantees that the cycle of breaking apart, violence, and the rise of new, even more ruthless criminals will continue for the foreseeable future.